develop the electric cars, the electric vehicles, and safe methods of energy which will not take oil and which will vastly improve our position in and of themselves. And the third thing is, you know what? We need to balance our budget. And John McCain loves to talk about balancing the budget, but the point is he is going to give $300 billion in tax breaks. The average CEO of a corporation under a McCain policy would get $700,000 in additional tax money back.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we over?
Yes, sorry.
I apologize. I turned down the volume.
Oh, no, don't do that. And now we've got our fight thing going, which I really should get rid of, because that's going to go off again in another 2 minutes. Okay, Parmaneides, please take it away.
Energy independence has got to be the first thing to talk about, and you cannot achieve that without nuclear power and offshore drilling. And it is simply untrue when people say that that would take 10 to 20 years. It would depend, how long it would take depends on the areas in which you're drilling. Some of it could be on the market within 18 months. As far as nuclear power goes, John McCain has an ambitious plan to build 45 new nuclear power plants by the year 2030. Now, Barack Obama likes to say he's in favor of nuclear power, but it's purely hypothetical because he won't approve any nuclear power until he's satisfied that they've come up with a perfect solution to nuclear waste. The fact of the matter is, nuclear waste, there's already a solution in place for nuclear waste. It's going to be stored under Yucca Mountain in containers that you can hit with a train and they don't even get dented. Now, the second thing has got to be job growth. Barack Obama's tax plan will tax 50% of the small businesses in America, especially those that are job creators. These companies will have no choice but to cut benefits and cut jobs, and some of them will go out of business. And who will be the real beneficiaries of this? Those big corporations that the Obama supporters so love to demonize, because they'll be the ones who are most easily able to afford to pay these higher taxes. Smaller corporations, on the other hand, will have a much harder time struggling through trying to make it. Many of them will not make it. And big corporations that fall below a certain level may themselves have a hard time making it, and they'll have to cut jobs too, and they will send more jobs overseas. The idea that Obama's going to stop this by giving them incentives for keeping jobs here is just ludicrous, because the simple fact of the matter is that they'll save more money by shipping those jobs overseas than they will staying here. John McCain has a plan to reduce taxes to increase their incentive to invest in America's workers.
Thank you very much, Parmaneides. Now, our next question then, Parmaneides, is to you. What is your candidate's plan for Iraq over the next 4 years?
John McCain's plan for Iraq is precisely what he's already been doing. The surge strategy, which has, and new strategies for working closely with local leaders in Iraq, has succeeded brilliantly, to the point that where just 2 years ago Iraq seemed like certain failure, now it seems like a very plausible victory. And a victory is always better than a defeat. Now, you may not have supported us going into Iraq in the first place. Many people didn't, and that's perfectly valid. The question is not whether we should have been there in the first place. The question is, what's at stake in Iraq now? And what's at stake in Iraq now is that whether you think they were there before or not, it's quite clear that al-Qaeda is in Iraq now, and that our presence aiding the Iraqi government to take out terrorists and insurgents has succeeded brilliantly. But there's still pockets of them there, and they're fully capable of regrouping. And if they know that there's a particular time that we're all going to pull out, i.e. 16 months, then they can just lie low and wait for the day that we'll leave, and they'll come back in force. And it's not just al-Qaeda either. It's also Iran and Syria. These nations and these organizations will start to carve up Iraq into their own favorite little niches, and as a result, we'll end up with a wider war. Now, John McCain does want to bring our troops home, and he will have most of our troops home within the next 4 years. Probably not all of them, but then Barack Obama hasn't promised to have all of them home either. So what we need to do is we need to finish the job that we are so close to succeeding at already, and not, retreat at the moment of our victory. That simply doesn't make any sense from a tactical point of view, to retreat just as you're winning. So John McCain's strategy is to bring our troops home with honor and in victory.
Thank you, Parmaneides. And Cubsfan, same question, please.
Thank you. Guess what? The surge has been great at stopping or reducing the level of violence, but it hasn't done anything for the political process. We are really no closer to a stable, politically progressive democracy in Iraq than we were before. The point is, the step that we have to take to make Iraq safer, first of all, is to carefully withdraw troops. And as I said before, as carefully going out as we were careless going in. This war has lasted longer than World War I, longer than World War II, longer than the Civil War. More than 4,000 Americans have died, and more than 60,000 have been injured and wounded. We spend $10 billion every month in Iraq. It's simply not worth it as it is now. But what we need to do is, the point of the war, as Bush originally phrased it, was to go after terrorism. But as I said before, terrorism was not a problem in Iraq before the Iraq War. As a result, we've taken the ball off Afghanistan, and we've allowed bin Laden to keep going, and we've allowed al-Qaeda to keep growing. Once we safely and carefully move our troops out, we can focus on Afghanistan, and we can win the war on terror. We can win this thing, but we're not going to win it if, like John McCain said, we stay in Iraq 100 years. We can't do it that way. We need to get out as quickly and carefully as we can. And doing so, work with our allies, with NATO, with the Iraqi government, to try to improve their political situation. But leaving the military in there to be attacked is not a good, safe, or just strategy.
Thank you, Cubsfan. Okay, starting with you now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back to economics. Does your candidate intend to balance the national budget? And if so, how?
Absolutely. Let's be honest, though. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require some tough choices. And what Barack Obama has said is, first and foremost, we get out of Iraq. That saves $10 billion a month. That's not an insignificant amount of money. Second, we allow the Bush tax cuts on the very wealthy to expire. And that is further going to add additional revenue into our coffers and allow us to further reduce the deficit. Next, we turn to programs. There are programs that are going to have to be cut, and Barack Obama is more than willing to do that. He's going to go line by line, program by program, and find what can be cut. We don't need to give $4 billion to the oil industry in tax breaks. That's money that we can get back into our coffers that can reduce the budget deficit. There are lots of other similar programs that can be cut. But what Barack Obama is not going to do is what John McCain talked about, which is a spending freeze, which really, as he said, is like using a sledgehammer when you need a scalpel. All that would wind up doing is taking key programs, whether it's pre-kindergarten education, healthcare, programs to help the environment, and potentially slashing them. The most important programs being slashed while giving tax breaks to the wealthy. That's not what we need. Bill Clinton did raise taxes on the wealthy, and guess what? The budget deficit became a budget surplus, and the economy grew. And so the people who say raising taxes on the wealthy hurts the economy, hardly, because wealthy people under Barack Obama would still pay